Hey everybody, it's GoblinX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I have another quick draft of Throne of Eldraine. Just enjoyed myself quite a bit last time, so I'd like to get one last draft of this in. And then of course tomorrow we'll be doing one last Arena Cube draft, and the day after that will be the launch of Strixhaven. But for today, let's just get into another Throne of Eldraine draft and get this thing started. So I think we have a pretty powerful bomb rare here, the Lochmere Serpent. 6 mana for a 7/7 flash. It's already going to come out, be the largest creature on board, and probably destroy one of your opponent's creatures that they're attacking with, essentially for free. Everything that you get from that point on is just gravy, and you can get a lot. You can give it unblockable every turn by sacrificing islands, you can draw additional cards when you're flooding out by sacrificing swamps, and later in the game, if you have somewhat of a mill deck, or just late game in any match, if your opponent has 5 cards in their graveyard, you can even bring this back from your graveyard to your hand. So it's a bomb that's replayable later on the game. This is an incredibly powerful card, so even though it's a 6 mana spell, even though it's in 2 colors, 2 things you're not super prone to taking very often, it's just so powerful that it is very worth it. The next best cards in here are probably just something like Trapped in the Tower, since this is a very cheap spell to cast, so you'll be able to cast it most games. It's a great removal spell, and it's mono-colored. That's going to be a high pick for those reasons. And then, followed by maybe the Lock Dragon is about as good as the Trapped in the Tower, maybe even a bit better, since this does have a great enter the battlefield effect, even if it gets destroyed the second you cast it. So Lock Dragon being pretty solid as well. Clockwork Servant can be good as well when you have a heavy focus on one color over a second color, or if you're completely monocolored. Getting the Adamant trigger on this card makes it quite good. Without it, it's just okay. After those 3 cards, there's like a Fierce Witchstalker, one of the best green commons, just because it's a good creature. Just a nice 4/4 trample for 4. Good stats for the mana cost, and you get that food token out of it. There are some cards that can combo with the foods, and if not, you just get a little life gain out of it in the late game. I think this pack will be pretty easy for me here. I'm just going to take a Bake into a Pie, 4 mana for an instant speed removal spell, destroy any target creature, and create a food token. Really good card here. You both destroy one of the opponent's creatures and gain some life later in the game, so this is a good card to help stabilize against aggressive decks, as well as just being good at killing any creature at all, so just killing big creatures within the late game as well. Really solid card there. There is a Didn't Say Please, which is a mill counterspell, so it does counter with the 3rd effect on the Lochmere Serpent, and blue-black in this format does tend to try to mill the opponent a little bit for some of the other effects on the cards. There are more cards than just Lochmere Serpent that care about your opponent having a lot of cards in grave. That being said, we're not going to go so heavily in on that strategy that we pass out on one of the best removal spells in the set. There's also the Enchanted Carriage in that pack, which is worth mentioning. That card is quite good. 5 mana to get 2 1/1s, and then you can crew it as a 4/4 beater. Now we have Malevolent Noble. This is good with food tokens. And we do have Bake into a Pie, creating a food token, because then this is a 2 mana 2/2 that gets bigger throughout the game. This can become like a 3/3 and a 4/4, even off of just sacrificing foods. So I think that card's pretty good. There's a Frogify, which isn't the greatest removal spell ever, but it's fine if you're low on removal. And we do already have a Bake into a Pie here, and we're going to be blue-black, so I'm going to assume we can get a lot of just black removal on that front, so I kind of like Malevolent Noble a little better than Frogify for that reason. There's also Didn't Say Please. We don't have to play Mill to work with Lochmere Serpent. It's a great card regardless, and I don't love counter spells. There's Unexplained Vision for a great late game draw spell. I think I'm just going to take a Malevolent Noble here. I like trying to get a little aggressive here. Just seems like one of the best 2 mana creatures in the set. At least for black, for sure. Now we have Frogify, Mystical Disputes. Out of blue-black, mainly just Malevolent Noble or Frogify yet again. Basically just passed the same pack, which is very interesting. I think I'm just going to take another Malevolent Noble here. We might be able to wheel one of those Frogifys, we'll see. And Witch's Cottage could be good if black becomes the core of our deck, just splashing in a little bit of blue Black as the main color so we can get adamant triggers. Forever Young can be a great card in the late game as well, and if we get anything that mills both players, this will be great. If we have any like self-mill to stock up the grave. Yeah, it's between these two, I think. Runaway together can be a decent combo in Dimir mill decks and like blue-black mill decks because the Merfolk Secret Keeper is a blue common that for 1 mana you mill your opponent 4 cards, and then for 1 mana you play it as a 0/4. Obviously you can keep recasting that card with stuff like Runaway together to really start milling your opponent an incredible amount quite quickly. So that's a kind of a speculative pick, but we could go for it there. Don't have anything that combos with it yet. I think I'm just taking one of the black cards here, and I guess I'll just go with Forever Young. Now we have not a lot. I guess we have Festive Funeral, which does work as removal in Dimir if you're milling a lot of cards. This does require self-mill, though. We need a lot of cards in our graveyard for this to work. And it's 5 mana, so it's 5 mana removal, and it doesn't always work. So it's just like way worse than Bake Into a Pie. I think I'll just take like the flying creature in blue here, the Vantress Paladin. Not super playable at all if you aren't consistently hitting adamant, but if you are, it'll be good. So that would be a reason to get heavier into blue than black. Don't know how confident I am that we'll be running that, we'll see. We have Moonlit Scavengers or Corridor Monitor, just a fine early game blocker, or a nice late game card if you have food tokens, any enchantments, stuff like that. If you can consistently get the ability off of this, it's pretty great. Otherwise, pretty mediocre. We already do have 1 6-drop, although I'm not very excited about just 2 mana 1/4s or 0/4s in this kind of strategy. I'll just take a Moonlit Scavengers. Definitely going to scoop up an Opt here. Pretty easy pick. Another Opt or an Eye Collector. Interesting. In blue-black, we could end up with some graveyard synergies that care about having stuff in our own grave. And we have a little bit that cares about stuff in our opponent's grave already. Yeah, we do have Forever Young. This cares about filling our grave. Lockmere Serpent cares about filling our opponent's grave. We can scoop up an Eye Collect here and go more heavily in on that strategy. We wield the Enchanted Carriage. It's kind of crazy. I think I'll take it here. I think this card's just pretty solid. It can go into any deck, and it's a decent stat line for the mana cost. 5 mana for 2 1/1s and a 4/4. Obviously, at the start, you're just using the 1/1s to crew that 4/4, but whenever the 4/4 trades off with something or gets destroyed, you still leave those 1/1s behind. So, it's really cute as well. Very adorable tokens. I like that mouse a lot. I'll happily take an Enchanted Carriage there. Now we'll take some of that slow late game removal, late game draw spells. I don't think we're taking little pump spells here when we're likely to have draw spells and actual removal spells as our non-creatures in this deck. Take an Unexplained Vision here. Yeah, I mean, if we're incredibly aggressive, I could see using the Weapon Rack. I do not think we're going to be jumping out of our colors at all here. We're probably not playing the Weapon Rack either, though. This can be okay in blue-white artifacts enchantments here, the Shine Chaser, and I really don't think we're going to play a 4-mana 2/4 Vigilance, so I'll take a Shine Chaser, just speculate a little on blue-white instead of blue-black, but with the quality of our black spells here, we really don't want to get pushed into those colors. That being said, we do see a powerful white mythic rare here, so it may happen. Harmonious Archon, 6 mana for a 4/5 flyer. All non-Archon creatures are 3/3s, and you create 2 1/1s when you play this. So you play it, you get a 4/5 flyer and 2 3/3s as long as this is on the field. Everything else turns into 3/3s. Yeah, this card's pretty absurd, pretty insane, and there's not much going on in our colors. Kind of like Wicked Guardian, if we have enough creatures to deal 2 damage to. Right now we don't have a lot to combo with that. We have some 2/2s and a 1/1. Those don't work well with the Wicked Guardian, but, you know, 4/5s, 4/4s, stuff like that do. So Wicked Guardian may be the best card for our colors, but we don't even have the cards to combo with it well right now anyway. So I'm just going to take Harmonious Archon. With how late the first Shine Chaser went, it's not impossible that we'll wheel this one as well, and we might try to go Azorius here instead of blue-black, but I do think our black is better than our blue, so it is a bit awkward. Maybe we try to go like white-black here. That actually seems pretty possible. We'll see how the cookie crumbles here after we take this Harmonious Archon. Yeah, with the Harmonious Archon, I am now looking to play white pretty heavily. So I kind of like the Mysterious Pathlighter here. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer is already playable in the right deck. And if you get any extra value off of this, if you have any creatures with adventures, it's going to be sweet. All of your adventure creatures are now coming into play with +1/+1 counters. We also have Foulmire Knight, which is solid. And I guess black is the most likely color that we're playing, so it's probably the safest pick. I think I like Pathlighter a little bit better, but we don't have any adventure creatures to work with it yet. If we already had 1 or 2 adventure creatures, I think I'd slam the Pathlighter here, but without that, and because black is the core of our deck right now, I think we're okay to just take a Foulmire Knight, draw a card, and get a little Death Toucher there to trade off with any sized creature late in the game. I think Foulmire Knight's quite solid. It also combos well with the Pathlighter if the Pathlighter wheels. Now we have Epic Downfall. It's going to be a pretty easy pick here because we're definitely playing black, and it's a great removal spell. 2 mana to exile a creature with mana cost 3 or greater. If that weren't in the pack, Steelgaze Griffin's a little interesting if we are still trying to be blue-black. Definitely good with draw spells like Opt, so that we can attack with it as a 4/4 flyer for 5. And if we're just trying to be white-black here, we'd probably take like Shepherd the Flock as a good early game aggressive creature. We do have a pretty aggressive curve, potentially getting started here with 2 1-mana creatures and a couple 2-mana creatures already. If we take Shepherd the Flock, we could get started on a pretty aggressive Orzhov deck. So I think I'd take Shepherd if it weren't for Epic Downfall being in the pack. Another Shine Chaser here. Blue-white, definitely quite open, but our black is so good. I mean, Bake into a Pie, Epic Downfall, Malevolent Noble, Foulmire Knight. I do feel like our black is just so high quality here. I think I'll just take a Fairy Guide Mother, try to move in on the Orzhov Adventures deck, sort of. It's going to work really well if we wheel that Mysterious Pathlighter. If we're not taking Fairy Guide Mother, we're taking like Shine Chaser or the Witch's Cottage, or just one of these blue spells, Unexplained Vision or Runaway Together. I could see a justification for taking Witch's Cottage here because of how black our deck is right now. Black is the core of it, and this is pretty great if you have that quote-unquote adamant trigger, having 3 swamps on the board for it. Just a great late-game land. But Guide Mother's very, very good when you're aggressive. I'll just take a Witch's Cottage. We're definitely in black here. We're definitely heavy into black. Black is going to be the main color. Now I'm thinking we take another solid black card, probably Lost Legion here. 3 mana for a 2/3 and you scry 2 when it comes into play. It's also a knight, which is important in black-white. You can get some knight tribal cards. And again, we don't have much that survives getting hit by Wicked Guardian, so Wicked Guardian's not great right now, but if we start getting some cards like Lost Legion, then Wicked Guardian will be pretty good. Lost Legion probably the best card to play on turn 3, and then follow it up with a turn 4 Wicked Guardian. So I like Lost Legion here. Prize Griffin's solid, a solid flyer in white, but we're still not committed to any second color here. We do have more blue than white right now, but I think the quality of the white cards we're getting seen past currently is higher than the quality of the blue cards, so it's more likely we'll pick up more good white than blue later here. Although we see some great blue cards for the Draw 2 deck, Tome Raider, Steelgaze Griffin, Opt. I think Reaper of Night is a solid enough card. I can just roll with that, stay in black here. Have your opponent discard 2 cards with the adventure, and then you get to drop down a big old 4/5 on turn 7 that often attacks with flying, because at that point in the game, especially if you've had them discard a couple cards, they're very likely to have a low hand count, so this usually gets to tack in for flying once or twice. Very solid card here. Now we have that Eye Collector again, works with our Forever Young, potentially with the Lockmere Serpent if we're blue-black, or the Prized Griffin for if we're in white here. I think I'll just take another Eye Collector. It's definitely going to get run in this deck, although it's not exceptional. Another Witch's Cottage seems fine here. It also combos well with Self-Mill, like Eye Collector. Another Shine Chaser, very unlikely to get played, but these white cards are not very good, and neither is the Pump Spell here. Could just send a message here and scoop up every Shine Chaser we see, because they're everywhere. Tome Raider for the blue-black deck, probably the best card in this pack. Festive Funeral, we are starting to get a bit of a self-mill theme, but still I think not enough for Festive Funeral to be exciting to me. Just take the Tome Raider. And nothing awesome here. I guess I'll take Rally for the Throne for a white-black aggressive deck. Well, it looks like we're probably sticking in blue-black here, especially if we get like a last pick opt. There's definitely solid blue cards coming to us. So, I'm sorry Harmonious Archon, I'm sorry Triple Shine Chaser. Definitely somebody could have been an Azorius in this draft pod, but none of the bots are interested in that, I suppose. And had a pretty solid deck here. So, we are in Dimir, we're in blue-black. That is just a certainty at this point. And we've got a pretty solid deck right now. So, what are our options here? We have several pretty good options, I think. We have Covetous Urge, 4 mana. Target opponent reveals their hand, choose a non-land card from it or their graveyard, and exile it, and then you can cast that spell at any point later on in the game. So this is really nice. Just take their best card from them. That is really fun and potentially really powerful. There's also Vantress Gargoyle, which goes with both the self-mill and milling our opponent's theme. Yeah, I think I'm going to take Vantress Gargoyle here. Covetous Urge, I think, would be more likely to wheel because the mana cost is so restrictive, although that is a pretty powerful card too. I think it's probably between these two, but we do have some solid commons as well. Queen of Ice, Wicked Guardian, decent stuff there. We already have another 5 mana draw spell, the Unexplained Vision, so I'm not super looking for a second. Just take a Vantress Gargoyle here. We are sort of doing the mill ourselves and mill our opponent theme. I already have 2 opts, less interested in the third one. Kind of like the Clockwork Servant here. Pretty heavy into black, so we can cast this off triple black a lot. Golden Egg can help with adamant triggers and stuff, so that's an option as well. Also a Witch's Cottage. We could have a third Witch's Cottage, go really heavy into black. And I think I'll just take a Clockwork Servant here. We also do have some cards that care about us having artifacts out, like Moonlit Scavengers. Maybe that's the only one. I think I'm pretty fine with another Lost Legion here. Still just not a great fan of counter spells, not really the kind of thing I do a lot, and this deck is moderately aggressive. I don't know, a counter spell would fit fine into here, but I do like Lost Legion a lot. Turn into a pumpkin, maybe. We're not really likely to hit adamant too often with this, so we're not really getting food out of it, but still 4 mana to bounce any non-land permanent and draw a card is solid. It's that or an Opt or a Wicked Guardian. I suppose we are starting to get the 3 mana cards to combo well with Wicked Guardian. Wicked Guardian combos great with Lost Legions and Clockwork Servant. And we don't really have any 4 mana creatures, we just have Vantress Paladin. Yeah, I could see a Wicked Guardian here over a turn into a pumpkin. Although, let me just check my creature count here. I've got 7 non-creatures already, 14 creatures. How much instant speed do I have going on? Got double opt. A bake into a pie. I mean, it's a decent trick because it is instant speed. I'll just take the Wicked Guardian. I think I'm trying to get aggressive best I can. I do love me a Queen of Ice here. Yeah, it's that or a Prophet of the Peak or a Giant Skewer. I think Queen of Ice is the best here. Just a great adventure. in both aggressive and defensive decks because you slow down your opponent with it. And then even the ability on the card itself, slowing down their untaps, is pretty great. I think I'm happy to take another Wicked Guardian here. We're definitely not a Vantress Paladin deck. We're going to be much heavier into black than blue, trying to get those black adamant triggers on cards like Clockwork Servant. Definitely not trying to hit any blue adamant triggers. Trying to hit triple swamps for Witch's Cottage as well. So yeah, we're going to keep taking black cards over comparable blue cards when we can. We do see a Merfolk Secret Keeper. Can help trigger the mill stuff, although there's a powerful draw spell for the late game here. Would be missing out on that a lot here. 7 mana to draw 4 cards at instant speed is pretty playable and limited, and if you get the cost reduction on this, then it's just absurd. 4 mana to draw 3 at instant speed. I'm going to go with the Into the Story here. That just seems like a great late game draw spell, but Merfolk Secret Keeper and even like So Tiny are okay choices as well here. Another Queen of Ice that didn't say please. Now that I have Into the Story as well, which is a card that benefits a ton off of having some cards in your opponent's grave, I think I am actually going to scoop up a Didn't Say Please and go more towards the slower sort of mid-rangey kind of mill strategy. We're definitely not a control mill deck here with the amount of creatures that we've drafted, especially at like 2 and 3 mana, but we can get more mid-range, less aggressive. Be pretty solid with it. I like another Queen of Ice here over the Unexplained Vision. We've got Unexplained Vision and Into the Story already for big late game draw spells, and some decent draw in the middle of our deck. Tome Raider, Clockwork Servant, double Wicked Guardian, Lost Legion Scry. Yeah, we're not super lacking on draw power. And I can just scoop up another Opt here. Now we've got just a 1/4 that untaps something, or a 0/4 that can give haste later. It's definitely a lot better in like the big green decks. Like the deck that I drafted last time, it did a lot of work. So I think I'm more interested in Corridor Monitor for this deck, but even then, not super excited about that. Another Vantress Paladin. I am going to be cutting the first one here, just because it's going to consistently be a 4 mana 2/2 flyer. That's pretty unplayable. Turn off the Parallax Styles and get editing this deck. We've got 45 cards right now. We got to cut 5 to run 17 lands. I think we are 17 lands here. Definitely not 16 lands, and I don't think that we're slow enough to want 18. I think we just want to cut some mediocre blue cards here. Can cut Corridor Monitor for sure. Maybe even Moonlight Scavengers. We kind of have a lot at our high mana costs. Lockmere Serpent, Reaper of Night, and Into the Story. Even without Scavengers, 2 5 mana cards, Unexplained Vision and Carriage. I think I could take those 2 out, and then we have to cut 3 more cards. I could see just cutting 3 Opts here, because our turn 1, with double Witch's Cottage and like Clockwork Servant wanting 3 black mana, we want to always just be dumping out Swamps turn 1 for like the first several turns. So we'd rather have like later game blue spells, although Opt we don't have to cast it on turn 1. So we could just play it late in the game, even though it does only cost 1 mana. But I could definitely see cutting some of our early blue cards here, because we're definitely pushing more towards wanting a ton of black sources here. Yeah, I mean, I like the Queen of Ices, I like Tome Raider, the Gargoyle. I may actually just literally cut triple Opt here. Although Eye Collector, it's not fantastic. It works well with Forever Young, it works well with Lockmere Serpent. It is just a 1/1 for 1. I don't know, it works well with the Into the Story as well. I could see cutting like double Eye Collector 1 Opt, or just cutting triple Opt here. I think those are the cuts I'm the most interested in for this deck. Just gonna cut triple Opt, and we're definitely gonna put in more black sources. We have 14 black cards and 8 blue cards. Clockwork Servant, basically a black card as well for us. So 15 black cards, 8 blue cards. We do have double blue on Didn't Say Please, but we'll be countering something with that later. Blue is pretty much a splash here, so actually maybe we even cut a Didn't Say Please for like an opt. Because the double blue on that is hard to hit, even though it does combo well. Just by milling our opponents. Yeah, I'm actually going to cut a Didn't Say Please and just throw an opt back in here. That way we don't need 2 blue mana until like turn 7 for Into the Story, so we can really cut down on the islands and try to consistently hit Adamant on Clockwork Servant, consistently hit 3 swamps for Witch's Cottage. Yeah, definitely going to cut like 2 islands here, I think. Have 11 black sources. If we have 4 blue sources, that's 1 out of 10. 5 is 1 out of 8 cards as a blue source. I think we do want 6. We want a little more than like 1 out of 8. Yeah, I think 6 islands, 9 swamps seems like the place to be here. And we just may not be getting Adamant on Clockwork Servant till like turn 4, turn 5. But should be able to consistently hit our double black spells and our turn 1 black spells, stuff like that, pretty well. Alright, we've got a nice little Dimir deck here. A lot of milling to go around, both ourselves and our opponents. Not a ton of it, but definitely more than usual for a limited format. But not anywhere near as much as you could get in Throne of Eldraine. We don't have all of the Merfolk Secret Keeper combos to just go off and be a dedicated mill deck here. We just have a little bit of synergies with some cards that can recur from the graveyard, and some cards that care about our opponent having a lot of cards in graveyard. Alright, well, I mean, we can Clockwork Servant for Adamant on turn 3. Wasn't planning on using blue mana to hit the Adamant on Clockwork Servant, but we can here, and we'll have a fine time doing it. If our opponent's really aggressive, we can cast Rage of Winter on our Queen of Ice to slow them down a bit. I think it's worth the keep. We only need the 1 black mana to cast all of our black spells in hand, and one of them also draws us another card. So we've got some good value plays here to fuel us in the later turns. Especially when we draw Into the Story as well. Now we have a draw 4 spell. Trail of Crumbs is going to start things off for our opponent. Really great value spell in a food deck. Now whenever they sacrifice a food, they also get to spend 1 mana to draw a permanent out of the top 2 cards of their library. So all of their foods essentially say 4 mana, or 3 mana, sacrifice this, gain 3 life, and draw a card. It's really good. I think it's better to just drop down a Clockwork Servant turn 3 and draw a card than hit them for a couple extra damage with the Eye Collector here. Although it would get the mill started for Into the Story. We could definitely take either line. I don't think either is that much better. I do really like the idea of just running out this Servant as soon as possible, though. It's just where I stand on it. We do draw a card. We hit the 5th mana, only 2 mana away from Into the Story. We even have a Reaper of Night next turn to have our opponent discard some cards, maybe get rid of a little bit of the card advantage they get out of the Trail of Crumbs. Casting the Harvest Fear here to discard cards from our opponent's hand doesn't add anything to our board, though. You might want to get a little bit of a board presence here and try to put a little bit of pressure on our opponent. Discard spells tend to be better the smaller your opponent's hand is as well. That way they have less options of what they want to discard, and you hit more powerful spells. So it's also possible we want to hold on to it just to get rid of better cards. Queen of Ice is a really good blocker here. All we have are like 1/1s and 2/3s, so we're not going to be attacking in well anytime in the future. Yeah, if I could like cast Profane Insight and play the Foulmire Knight. I might do that here, but I don't have double black because I had to spend 3 blue sources to get the Clockwork Servant going. I think I'll just go ahead and Alter Fate now. Or Alter Fate Harvest Fear. I'm getting all of my discard spells mixed up. Queen of Ice is actually a good attacker into a 2-3 as well, isn't it? Yeah, she does tap the creatures that she hits, so even if the Clockwork Servant is untapped when it blocks her, it will get tapped down and stay tapped next turn. That being said, I can definitely afford to just take 2 here for now, because as soon as I play another blocker, if I just have 2 2-3s on the board, they can't attack in anymore. Otherwise, I can block with 2 2-3s. I don't lose a creature, and we get to kill the Queen of Ice. Tall as a beanstalk. Alright, well, suppose we are trying to play a Death Toucher now then. Although if they play a Flyer, can't Death Touch that. So they get to throw Tall as a Beanstalk onto one of their creatures, give it +3/+3 reach, and make it a giant. We did draw a Bake into a Pie, so I think I'll just hold on to that, and we'll cast that on whatever they throw that spell onto. I think it's pretty likely they're going to throw that onto the Flyer, so I'm just going to hold on to Bake into a Pie to stop all of this damage here. They'll throw it onto Vantress Paladin, we'll kill Vantress Paladin in response. Bake into a Pie was the ideal draw there. Very nice. We could have also just cast Rage of Winter on our Queen of Ice to tap down Vantress Paladin, and then cast Queen of Ice herself. And then we have 2 2-3s to block their 2-3 on the ground, and if they wanted to... Ooh, interesting, they throw it onto the Gilded Goose. That is fair. Spread out the threats here. Makes a lot of sense. So I don't get to just kill their best creature by a long shot. Gilded Goose is still definitely better than Vantress Paladin now, so we will kill the Gilded Goose here. But we are going to start getting hit by the 3-3 Flyer every turn. Very smart play from our opponent. Don't quite have the mana for Reaper of Night here. I could use Queen of Ice to slow down that Vantress Paladin. I think that is important to do here. I think we've got the long game on lock. We have a draw 4 spell in hand, so we have really good card draw coming up later. Let's just slow our opponent down here, tap down that Vantress Paladin, and maybe even just draw a card off of Profane Insight. They don't seem like they're wanting to attack with the Queen of Ice. Normally I would just cast ours, that way we have good blocks for their queen, but if they're not attacking with the queen anyway, then it doesn't seem necessary. Yeah, I could just cast an Eye Collector and then use Profane Insight instead. Go ahead and draw a card here. I could also draw a card and then play a 1/1 Death Toucher here, and I could trade that up into the Queen of Ice if they attack in with that. Twin Veil Treefolk. Uh-oh, looks like I should have had the Death Touch ready, because now we're going to take 4 here. Take 4, just lose our Eye Collector. They have 4 cards in grave already. I've got 1 in grave. Put them to 5 in grave by hitting with Eye Collector. I could see a trump block being reasonable here. We go to 13 if we don't. They're going to have a 6/5 out next turn. Yeah, I do have to be able to stop a 6/5 and this 4/5. I'm going to draw a card here, see what we hit. Just a land. I think I just take it here. I can definitely get enough power and toughness on the board to do a double or triple block on the Queen of Ice to kill it later in the game. That Twin Veil Treefolk, though, we're going to want to use Foulmire Knight on the Twin Veil Treefolk. Don't think I can take the turn off just to draw cards here. I think I just need to play a bunch of blockers. I could play the 4/5, and then my 4/5 can block their 4/5 all day. But we are taking 3 a turn from Vantress Paladin. Could also play Queen of Ice and Foulmire Knight, but then I don't cast anything else this turn. A single 4/5 holds off their 4/5, so We're good with that for now. And we may as well attack in with both. If they kill Reaper of Night, we're not going to want to block with Clockwork Servant. Regardless. 5 cards in their graveyard now. I expect Twin Veil Treefolk to come out, and then we just take 3 in the sky. That is the play, down to 9 life. Oh yeah, Queen of Ice does tap down the Reaper of Night, that is true. The ability is solid here. I guess we take it because we can double block to kill that pretty easily next turn. We can kill like everything they have next turn except their flyer. All we need to do is find an answer to the flyer. Because I just spend 1 mana here. And now I have a 1/1 Death Toucher. So I throw my Death Toucher onto Twin Veil Treefolk. I throw a 4/5 and a 1/1 onto their 4/5. We've killed both of those cards. And then we just take 3, go to 2. I kind of like, because all we need here is an answer to their flying threat, I actually like just holding on to Into the Story and just drawing 4, because we just need to dig for an answer to Vantress Paladin. We also get to hold up the food token here in case they do another pump spell of some sort. And there is a Granted on a Fae of Wish, allowing them to search their sideboard for anything and put it into their hand. Any non-creature spell, that is, luckily. They can't just grab like a big old 6/5 and drop another massive threat on us. Wonder what they're searching for here. They're definitely taking some time to consider the options. They grab an island. Alright. I guess they just realized they did not draft anything to grab off of Granted. They attack with just the Vantress Paladin. I'll go to 2 life here. Keep my flyer out, that way if I somehow get more flying power, I could like stack them up together to block. Yeah, that's 2 more flying power. We draw a Queen of Ice as well to tap something down. I don't have a flyer big enough to block a Fae of Wishes even, which is not great. So we have 9 mana here. 3 mana for Tome Raider. It's 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9 will be spent on the food token. Yeah, we're going to cast Tome Raider first to see what we draw into, see if that changes anything. That does not change anything, so now I'll cast Eye Collector. Now we have 3 power and toughness of flying on the board to trade with Vantress Paladin, and we can use Queen of Ice to slow down their Fae of Wishes. And Reaper of Night can attack in with flying here to start getting some damage on our opponents, although if we do that, we don't have a good block for Queen of Ice on their field. We are on a 5-turn clock to a Fae of Wishes, so we can probably outrace that with the amount of cards we have here. But is there any way I can chip in for like a damage here and still be safe? I don't think there is, because Reaper of Night's the only thing that can get in, because they have a 6/5 and a 4/5 to block with, and if I attack with that, the shields are down for their Queen of Ice to come in, so I have to just chump block that with like a Clockwork Servant, because we're saving Falmire Knight to block the 6/5 instead. Yeah, I think we pass here. I definitely want to sack the food, although probably have to get as much power on board as quickly as possible, because then we can attack with it sooner. I like holding on to the food, the ability to sacrifice it, that way we don't just die if they give the Vantress Paladin unblockable or something this turn. Although if that happens, we are already in a massive world of hurt. Yeah, I'm actually going to cast a Lost Legion here, Scry, try to set up our future draws. Witch's Cottage, we do have 3 swamps, so that'll put a creature on our top of library. We don't have any creatures in grave though, so Witch's Cottage it is not. Wicked Guardian is definitely a decent draw here. Put a 4/2 on the board and draw another card. I suppose playing this way has also revealed to our opponent that we're not holding any mana up, so if they have any combat tricks, they know that they're still safe. Well, now we're going to have to just chump block the Vantress Paladin every turn, unfortunately, until we can draw potentially a removal spell for it. So, chump block with that Tome Raider. Doesn't have trample or anything. We'll take the Fae of Wishes damage every turn. That's just 1 damage a turn. Oh no, that is literally exactly what I said I did not want to happen. Whenever that attacks, they give another attacking non-human unblockable till end of turn, so they can just give Twin Veil Tree Folk unblockable, hit me for 6, even if I gain 3 life here. So now we have to just kill the River Turtle instead of anything else, which is not ideal at all. Just draw a card here. Forever Young, put Tome Raider back into our hand and draw a card. This does not draw us into removal to kill the River Turtle. We have to just cycle Forever Young, draw a card here, and hope to draw our 2-mana removal spell. Vantress Gargoyle doesn't do it either. Do I have any more draw? I'd have to be able to draw a card for only 2 mana here, so we just don't. Yep, we're lethaled by an unblockable 6/5 here now. Just another Malevolent Noble. Well, that is going to end that game. That was a rough one. I feel like we really had the card advantage and the ability to potentially come back in the late game. That unblockability really did us in there, because we had enough creatures on board to now start poking them for 4 a turn with our Reaper, so they're on a 5-turn clock. We can chump block their 4-power flyer every turn and just take the 1 from the other one. Although if they move the mantle to the other flyer, then we do take 2 a turn. We can only chump block 1 of them, really. Yeah, they probably still had us there, but just digging for removal that we never found. Definitely searching for our epic downfall there. Go ahead and keep this. Pretty good curve. Start off with Eye Collector. Move on into Malevolent Nobles and get them to discard with our Harvest Fear. Shepherd of the Flock, just a 3/1 for 2. Kind of like just holding back our Eye Collector now. Just hold back their aggression, trade their 2-mana card for our 1-mana card. Just trade that down. Seems fine to me. If they have an adventure to give it plus power, we're not losing a lot here. We just lose our 1/1. Alright, looks like we are trading up into the 3/1. And they cast a 3/2 on turn 3 now. I'll trade our Malevolent Noble into that. I think we're likely to have a better late game than they do in this deck. We have a lot of powerful stuff to slow down the game, powerful draw spells. So we'll just keep trading into their early game creatures, slow them down. They're on red-white here, so they're likely to be quite aggressive. And with the plays of a 2-mana 3/1 into a 3-mana 3/2 is definitely the idea here. Just discard the rest of their hand, and then we trade Tome Raider into their only creature left. Seems pretty fantastic. Discard a Searing, Barrage, and a Plains. So they have 4 lands and a 2/1. We have 4 lands and a bunch of stuff still available, so I'm feeling pretty good about this game. Fortifying Provisions, that is quite good here. That does make their creature big enough to not trade into Tome Raider, so we'll start attacking him with that, although the Queens of Ice will be more than enough to slow that thing down. Actually, that was probably a misplay there. We probably are supposed to just cast Queen of Ice. Although, I guess Jousting Dummy does have the ability to get extra power, so if we just cast Queen of Ice, they would trade. She wouldn't be able to block it without dying. It's not fantastic. Just keep slowing him down here. I am slowing myself down here too, but I'm okay slowing myself down. As I said before, we have a lot going on in the late game in this deck. We obviously have a Reaper of Night as soon as we hit 7 mana. That'll be pretty great. And there is the 7th mana. That has reach, so it blocks our 1/1 flyers very well. So I guess we just send in the Queen. Costs 3 mana to pump this. They only have 4, so they pump it once. It's a 3/2. Yeah, we send in the Queen. Our 4/5 can block their 3/2 freely. So we just get that damage in there. They could have blocked, but if they block, Queen of Ice does tap down the creature for a turn. So it's still a good attack, because we do get something out of it, even if they block. Fireborn Knight. Well, we're going to go ahead and Epic Downfall that. Just get that thing out of the way. Lockmere Serpent is the draw, though, so now I'm thinking we don't do that. We just hit with Reaper of Night, and then we cast Lockmere Serpent. Because that card is insane. Oops. Just attack with Reaper of Night. The only creature they have that can block it is the Trebuchet, and if they block with Trebuchet, Trebuchet dies. So send in that attack and then flash in a Lockmere Serpent on them. Although, they have enough mana to pump that once. That'll be a 3-power double striker. Yeah, that's not big enough to kill the Serpent. So we could probably really get them if they try to send in the Fireborn Knight. Even if they kill Lockmere Serpent, thanks to the Eye Collector, they have more than enough cards in grave for us to bring back the Serpent with its 2-mana ability, exiling 5 cards from their grave. So, Serpent is really ridiculous here. Let's dump out our Lockmere Serpent and see what happens. Shouldn't have let the auto-tapper do it. We'd rather have a black mana up here so I could sacrifice a swamp and draw a card here. There's no reason to give it unblockable, because we're just blocking right now. So I should have manually tapped my mana. This would be a position where I would like to draw a card, lose a life. We've got more than enough life to go around. And they are just going to scoop him up there. They are very close to dead. We can give the Serpent unblockable on our turn, hit them for 7, that puts them to 4 life. So if we attack with everybody else, they could block the 4-power creature, 2-power creature, take 2 more. They take 9 damage and go to 2. So yeah, definitely very close to lethal that game, and there was the concession from our opponent. So 1-1 we are with this Dimir deck. Lockmere Serpent was pretty insane there, but I think we still could have got that game without the Serpent. I think our deck put in a lot of work there. Just decent draw spells to get us to the late game, and the late game cards we had were just pretty solid, like that 4/5 out there, and then we drew another removal spell to get rid of the Knight. I will keep this. We have our 3 swamps for our witches' cottages and our little golem dude. Our opponent has 7 cards, no mulligans. So we'll start out with an Eye Collector, pass the turn, see what's going on in their deck. Island to start it off, and an Overwhelmed Apprentice. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent mills 2 and you scry 2. They have milled our Into the Story, one of our best late game cards. That is sad to see. But unless they have a lot of great mill here, Overwhelmed Apprentice does kind of help us with some of our stuff that cares about our graveyard. But everything that cares about our graveyard specifically cares about having creatures in our grave, and we haven't milled any creatures, so nothing fantastic here. Go ahead and scry 2 off the Lost Legion. Another Eye Collector and a Swamp. Don't really care about either of these. I guess I'll throw one on top just to mill it. I'd rather mill a creature than anything else, so we'll just throw the Eye Collector on top to mill that into our grave. Next turn we get to cast that Wicked Guardian, get a 4/2 onto the board, and draw another card. Our opponent is on blue-red here. The blue-red strategy is to draw 2 spells per turn. Cards like Improbable Alliance are great in the strategy, giving you a 1/1 flyer every time you do so, and giving you that 6-mana ability to consistently draw a second card on your turn every turn. So would I rather Wicked Guardian here, just draw a card and get a 4/2 out, or just make them discard 2? They're down to 3 cards in hand, so they probably discard some decent stuff. We don't have any good attacks right now, though. We would just trade our Eye Collector for their 1/1. A 4/2 is not going to attack in well either. It's just going to trade into Overwhelmed Apprentice. Yeah, I think we have the time, so we just go ahead and pop the Harvest Fear. They had to discard a Weaselback Redcap and a Steel Gaze Griffin. Definitely happy to hit the Steel Gaze Griffin. Witch's Cottage is not looking great here. I don't think we're going to put an Eye Collector on top of our deck, so we will just refuse the ability when we play it, but it will come to play untapped. Gets us 1 mana closer to our Reaper of Night. And our opponent drops down the Merchant of the Veil. With its ability, they can spend 3 to discard a card and draw a card, so they can pretty consistently draw 2 per turn off of that by spending 3 mana, so they can start getting their army of fairies from that. Cast a Wicked Guardian here and draw, because I'm not attacking him with Lost Legion. Enchanted Carriage is the draw, actually a pretty great draw. We get to send a 4/4 in, it trades off with something, and we get those 1/1s left behind. I do like that. I definitely like attacking him with Wicked Guardian. It's going to trade with something, and then we can Witch's Cottage to put it back on top of our deck, which is especially good now that we have all 7 lands, so we know we're hitting all the lands for Reaper of Night. We're okay to not draw whatever would come up next. I think we attack with Wicked Guardian here. Enchanted Carriage doesn't have haste or anything, so no reason to pre-combat that. Just trade off the Wicked Guardian with something and then cottage it back on top of our deck. Seems alright to me. We're going to trade with the Merchant. Nice. Now play my land first in case they have something that like counters unless you pay 1. I don't know what that would be. Don't remember everything in this format, so it's possible. And I'll just cast Enchanted Carriage, although I guess I could also cast a Tome Raider. Not Carriage is definitely better here. They only have 3 power on the board, so it's possible the Carriage even gets to attack in without trading. They may have a counterspell though. Alright, they have Slaying Fire. Just go ahead and kill Lost Legion. They only have the 1 red mana, so they're not going to hit Adamant, so it's only going to do 3 to a target. Alright, makes sense. At first I was a little confused because I'm used to Slaying Fire dealing 4 damage, but you need to have triple red to do that. They get to grab a sideboard card here. They might have some Artifact Hate in red to kill our Carriage. We'll see what they have. Any non-creature card in the sideboard. It is a mountain. They have been stuck on mana. They had 3 mana until this turn, so that definitely works as a mana fixer here. Grab the 5th land. Once they hit 6, they get to start going off with Improbable Alliance. It's really hard to beat this card once your opponent has 6 mana, because then they just get 1/1 flyers every turn, as well as being able to draw 2, discard 1 every turn, instead of just drawing 1. So they draw into the best card out of their top 2 every turn. They have 1 red up, and they're going to scoop them up there. Alright, I was going to equip, or not equip, I was going to crew the carriage there, send in, post-combat, go ahead and drop down the Wicked Guardian. If they didn't block the carriage, we could shoot the Wicked Guardian with that to draw a card. If they did block the carriage, then we couldn't attack in and Wicked Guardian, so we'd just cast our 4/5 there. Might have been best to just drop the 4/5 either way, but if we cast our 4/2 Wicked Guardian, we can cast Wicked Guardian and our 1/1 flyer. The only thing I'm certain of is before we do anything else, just crew the carriage and send that in. So yeah, we did have a pretty good position against the Improbable Alliance. A 4/4 on the board, and then a potential 4/5 out the next turn. If you have big enough creatures to chip through those 1/1s really easily, then that is one of the better ways you can beat that kind of card. Alright. So we are 2-1 heading into round 4. Get to start out with Eye Collector or just play a Witch's Cottage tapped. If I hit any land, I have Lost Legion. Once I hit blue, I have Gargoyle and Tome Raider. Lost Legion does dig us out of this mana situation pretty well. I think I'm okay with the keep. We are trying pretty hard to just hit a land here, though. Just gonna get this Witch's Cottage out of the way, so that if I drew an island, I could immediately slam down Vantress Gargoyle. And whenever I draw the 3rd land, I know I can immediately slam down Lost Legion at the very least. Opponent starts with Wintermoor Commander. 2/1 Death Toucher when it attacks, give another knight indestructible. I think I'm cool just trading that for a Lost Legion. Don't have much other choice. Although, I don't think we can keep these. But these are good. Yeah, I don't think we can keep these. We gotta hit that blue mana. Yeah, I can hold back an Eye Collector here, and if they don't get another knight on their field, then they can't really attack in, because then I just trade Eye Collector for their Wintermoor Commander. That's even better for me than trading Lost Legion into it. Memory Theft. Just have me discard a card. Sure. Get rid of the Wicked Guardian. I just need one of any mana to play that, and once I do, I get a 4/2 out and draw a card, and of course, there's the mana for the Wicked Guardian. I guess I should have played the Swamp there. It's possible I draw land every single turn, and if I draw land every single turn, then we'd need to play it there. The Circle of Loyalty. This card is super likely to just destroy me, one of the best bombs in the set. 4 mana, tap it, create a 3/3 Knight with Vigilance, because it gives all of their creatures +1/+1. Yep, every turn they can just spend 4 and get a 3/3 Vigilance. They just have infinite 4 mana 3/3 Vigilance creatures in hand now. Yeah, fairly certain that'll just do it. I have absolutely nothing in the deck that can deal with artifacts. We are blue-black, so the only possible way we could deal with that is if we had counter spells. Might as well attack it with Eye Collector now. It's not big enough to trade with the commander anymore. Neither is Lost Legion, because it does spit out Knight tokens, so the Knight will be a 3/3 Vigilance, and the Wintermoor Commander will get another Toughness, because there will be another Knight on their board. So it'll be a 3/3 attacker. Every attacker they'll have for the rest of this game is going to be a 3/3 or better, so Lost Legion just doesn't work at all as a blocker anymore. Okay. I'm incredibly confused by that play from our opponent because our Lost Legion couldn't block regardless. Yeah, either way, we're super dead to the circle. I guess I should have poked for 1 there rather than trying to chump block, but game is mega over. Yeah, let's not chump block. On second thought. I'm just going to scoop him up here. There's absolutely nothing we can do against the circle. Puts us to 2-2. Heading into round 5. That game was some real bad beats there. Just got it absolutely handed to us by the Knights of the Round Table. Well, our early game isn't awesome. We just have an Eye Collector and an Opt, but the late game's incredible here. Enchanted Carriage and Lockmere Serpent. Opt can help scry us into the mana we need. I'm going to keep this. Very, very good if we get to 6 mana. We did draw the 4th land already, so we're on a great start for that. Playing against another red-white deck, they start out with a Robber of the Rich. And I already have more cards in hand than them, so they do get to draw the extra card off of it. This is really bad. I have no way of making my hand have less cards than them, so they get to draw a card off of Robber of the Rich every turn. Seems very good. Robber of the Rich, of course, one of the best cards in Standard right now, even. So pretty devastating if you get to play it out while your opponent has more cards in hand than you. And it does not take that much work to do so, as you can see. If you're on the play, Robber of the Rich is just automatically insane because your opponent automatically has more cards in hand than you. Because we were on the draw, we drew a card. They didn't draw a card. Here comes a Flutter Fox. Oops, forgot to opt there. I think I do want to cast a Clockwork Servant without the Adamants here, just so I have a blocker for Robber of the Rich. Even if I block and kill the Robber of the Rich, they have the Wicked Guardian to play, so they can just attack in with both and then cast our Wicked Guardian after getting the Robber of the Rich killed. So they just like upgrade it into a 4/2. That is the worst case scenario for them if they have any removal. And there you just have the Stone Cold Nuts here. Or any pump spells. We gotta make them have it here. If they have the pump spell or removal to keep the robber going on indefinitely, we're gonna lose this game regardless. So we play to get lucky there. In the small chance that they don't have it, we can still win this game. But as you can see, they did have it, so there's just nothing we can do. We don't even have another blocker. I can't even attack there because Robber of the Rich has reach. So if I attack in, I just kill my Eye Collector for nothing. Yep, and now they're definitely at the point they just get to start casting one of my cards every turn. So, not only can I not kill the Robber of the Rich, it's also just completely impossible for me to cast or discard enough cards to stop it from going off here. because I can only play one land, cast one spell each turn. I guess it's mildly possible here, because I'm down to 4 cards now. They'll draw a card per turn. If they can't play a land and a spell, then I can stop the Robber of the Rich from going off this time. At least they don't have it for a blocker here, so I get to poke in for 1 with my Eye Collector. We still, I guess, have a little bit of a chance. The Robber of the Rich has gone on so long, I expected to be, like, literally dead before I could cast Lockmere Serpents. But if I get to resolve a Lockmere Serpent, then I do still have a mild chance at this game. It is probably a strong enough card to turn things around, even after something as insane as a Robber of the Rich just going off every turn. Well, let us see if our carriage survives here. We do take 6 damage here, so they could also just like burn spell me for lethal. I take 8 if they kill the enchanted carriage. I just tap it. That is pretty bad. I go to 2. We can have 4 blockers up if I just save all my mana for the Lockmere Serpent. They have 4 attackers, so we have to block just literally everything. I could also cast Malevolent Noble and Epic Downfall, but they don't have anything big enough for Malevolent. I guess I can kill Wicked Guardian with that. So I can kill Wicked Guardian and put a 2/2 out. A 2/2 that I can turn into a 3/3 at instant speed. So I kill Wicked Guardian, Malevolent Noble blocks Robber of the Rich and is big enough to kill it. I think it's actually better to Noble plus Downfall than Lockmere Serpent right now. Because if I just Lockmere Serpent, have these 4 blockers, I can't afford to crew Carriage because it would cost me 2 creatures to crew it. So I would just go chump block, chump block, chump block. One of my blocks is good. With Noble and Downfall, I can make more of my blocks actually profitable here. I also get to dump 2 cards out of my hand, so it is possible that they don't get to trigger the Robber of the Rich here again. So now I can like chump block something with a mouse and sacrifice the mouse to make the Noble bigger. That is if I don't just use the mice to crew. I'll probably just use the mice to crew. Actually, I could use Eye Collector and a mouse to crew, and that works out. So they cast the Ardenvale Tactician. I mean, now they can just kill us with a flyer. Did hold them off this turn. We do get to chump block with Eye Collector one time. Do I want to sacrifice something into the Noble here while I have the mana to do so? I don't think so. Lost Legion is the draw. Well, put another Eye Collector back on top with Witch's Cottage or Clockwork Servant. I think just drawing blind is better. But I do want to play this so I have an untapped mana for the Lockmere Serpent to draw a card off of it. Yeah, not having Epic Downfall for the flyer is pretty bad here, but the thing that we have to think about is if we did not make the play with the Epic Downfall, we would have no creatures left on our board right now, and our opponent would still have like 3. So I think it's still all in all the better play, even if it does leave us in a pretty terrible spot here. It's just like the best we have between 2 bad lines. Stuck with the only option to survive. I mean, I guess the other line we would still have a Lockmere Serpent on board. If they slam everybody in, we instead would have had 3 creatures out, they'd have 4 attackers, so we can't afford to crew the carriage, so we cast Lockmere Serpent. We would go chump, 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 kill the 4-2 with our 7-7. Yeah, we'd have a single Lockmere Serpent out against these 3 and Ardenvale Tactician. We can then exile Ardenvale Tactician, but then we have a single Lockmere Serpent out. We play Malevolent Noble and Lost Legion. I'm trying to see if that would have panned out better. We would have had 3 blockers at that point against 3 ground troops, although they could just cast a Silver Flame Squire. Yeah, I think they could outnumber us pretty easily. I mean, either way, we're pretty just not in a great position. Unfortunately, I can't afford to sacrifice the Eye Collector if I want to cast Lockmere Serpent here, so I can't get the free counter on Malevolent Noble there. I definitely want to cast Lockmere Serpent here. It allows me to draw a card. I go to 1 life to draw the card, but I can survive at 1 life if I can kill that flyer. So we're looking for Bake Into a Pie. If we draw Bake Into a Pie, not only can we kill the flyer, but we can gain 3 life. So Bake Into a Pie would be beautiful. Definitely our best out. Oh, we gain a life. We don't lose a life. Oh my god. Lockmere Serpent can let us survive. Vantress Gargoyle can't block unless you have 4 or more cards in hand. But with Lockmere Serpent, we can get there. So we don't want to play any more cards here. We want to play a Vantress Gargoyle. We want to draw at least 2 more cards this turn. Then we have 4 in hand, so we tap 2 swamps and sacrifice those 2 swamps. We have 4 cards in hand to be able to block with Vantress Gargoyle as well. Actually, I might have wanted to leave a blue mana up to attack with Lockmere Serpent, because it does kill them in 3 attacks. But they have so many creatures, we need every blocker we can get. Yeah, no, I'm fine not attacking with Serpent, so I'm fine with the way I played that out there. Because we need all 5 of these blockers if we want to stop all of the damage. I guess we are gaining a couple more life off of the Serpent here. So we don't need to stop every single point of damage. But it's still definitely safest to do so. Burning Yard Trainer. Another knight you control gets +2/+2 trample haste until end of turn. Well, that can make Ardenvale Tactician. That is a knight. Yeah, that can make it a 5/4, 5/6. So Vantress Gargoyle can't kill it on a block anymore. That is very bad. Now my biggest out does not work anymore. I'm going to start drawing cards now. I don't know what I could hit here for only like 2 mana. Yeah, I don't have any 2 mana instants in this deck. Just have Bake Into a Fire. Bake Into a Pie at 4. I don't know where Bake Into a Fire came from. Yeah, we have to do the Gargoyle Chump block, so we go for another ability on Serpent here. They're considering not attacking here. I really hope they don't. The only reason to not attack would be if they think I have a pump spell as well. Because even if I can block with Gargoyle, it's not big enough to kill theirs. Well, Gargoyle can chump block now. Burning Yard Trainer only goes till end of turn, so I could go to 1 life if I sacrifice another land and only have 4 mana available next turn. 4 mana is all I need if I can hit Bake Into a Pie. I think I go to 1 here to not lose my Gargoyle. So that I can block Ardenvale Tactician next turn. Oh my god. Bake Into a Pie is there. Definitely no blocks. We just play the land, hold up Bacon to a Pie here. Can't afford to spend 1 mana on anything. So we're not using any Lockmere Serpent abilities this turn. We have 5 blockers. They have 6 attackers, so we have to bake something into a pie and block everything else. And they need to not have anything with haste. Oh boy. I'm shaking quite a bit here. They've got a lot of cards in hand. If the robber attacks and they get another card, they can cast like a Foulmire Knight. Oh, why did that take them forever? Now we just lose. So we take 3. Oh no, they didn't have Adamant. So we don't just lose. Now I understand why that took them forever. If they had triple red, that's just slam that down, deal 3 to me. I think we crew the carriage here, so that we can still have 5 blockers and just bake their flyer into a pie. If they only attack with the flyer, this is a really easy choice. Just shoot it. If they attack with everybody, we're going to have to make some chump blocks that are not good, but we also get to make some blocks that are great. Turn it to their hand, and now they can cast Dizzying Swoop again to tap 2 creatures. That is not good. Now I have to have 7 blockers out, and I have 4 right now. I have to play 3 creatures this turn, and I'm stuck down to only 5 mana from having to sacrifice so many swamps. And I can play 1 blocker with Tome Raider. I can gain some life. Oh, there's no way. They swoop these 2. Yeah, they just swoop these 2, we crew, then we have 3 blockers against 5. If a single thing hits me, I die. I guess if I have 3 black sources, I can gain 3, so I go to 4 life. So 2 things have to hit me for me to die. If I play a Tome Raider... If I have a Tome Raider, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 blockers left over. 4 blockers and the ability to gain 2 life means I go to 3 life, block 4 things. At 3 life, I block 4 things, take 2, and I go to 1? It's possible. Definitely not if the auto tapper does that. It's not possible to live if the auto tapper does that. Okay, now it's possible to live, but it's not likely because of the trample creature that they have. The trample just kills me if they can stop the carriage from blocking it. Yeah, well I'm just dead. Because now Dizzying Swoop shuts off 2 of my blockers, I can't crew a vehicle to make it shut off only 1. So I only get to block with 3 things instead of the 4 things. Was really planning on being able to crew the carriage in response to them swooping. To be able to have 4 blockers up here instead of 3. But with only 3 blockers up, absolutely no way here. We just take an astronomical amount of damage because the trample creature gets through as well. Well, that was very hard fought. I definitely lasted so much longer than I thought I would. So there's that. I guess I'll just kill the robber because it's been annoying me. Since I die no matter what, we'll just kill the robber of the riches. But that will end today's draft. This Throne of Eldraine quick draft is going to end at a 2 and 3 for us, unfortunately. And that will be how we leave that format off for now. Of course, I will be doing one final Arena Cube draft tomorrow, and the day after, April 15th, is the official launch of Strixhaven. We will hit the ground running on that. I'm going to go very hard at the Premier Draft format. Definitely going to try to hit Mythic quickly in the format, get as good at that format as quickly as I can to bring you all the best commentary, best decisions, all of that stuff during the drafts there. So as always, thank you all very much for watching this video, and I will see you again very soon for some more Magic Arena.